Hi, my name is Chelsea Wilkerson, and today I'm going to do my visual presentation on food literacy. So, my research paper was on that, food literacy, and how it is a problem we are facing and what we can do to combat the issue. So, let me kind of start with an overview, and we'll talk with the beginning of the food industry. And I'm going to start with this visual aid that I just came up with. This is a quote. It says, "Every bite we chew has a story." Oops. And this is from the Food Literacy Center, which is a big organization that works with the food literacy movement, and it's very well known. So I want to kind of start at the beginning, and that is within the beginning of history and where I kind of started my paper. And what I began with was that when the Pilgrims came here to America and they found the Americas and the Native Americans were here, they learned a lot about farming and finding their own food, hunting, gathering, growing from the Native Americans. So they taught them a lot. They showed them how to grow different vegetables, corn and beans, and the Pilgrims learned a lot about food and what it meant to grow and consume their own food. And they worked really, really hard in doing that and growing more and finding more. If you fast forward a little bit, once you get into World War I and II, we started seeing a lot more canned food within our country, and that has to do with the fact that the soldiers needed accessible, convenient food when they were fighting. And so we saw an increase of that. We also did see a different kind of I guess area of food. Bakeries were created weren't created, but became more popular, and people, were making breads and different stuff like that, and people would go and purchase them. Butchers became more popular, so people would go to them for their meat versus going and catching their own and skinning it and cleaning it and doing the whole thing. So we saw an increase in convenient food. After the World War II was over, we kind of seen the canned food and the frozen food market stay. And that is just because of the convenience. People became more interested in it and decided that they wanted to keep that within the market. So that's why we saw a lot more of that. And then from there on, we've seen processed food, we've seen frozen food, we've seen prepackaged food, and that's kind of where we are right now. We obviously still have fresh fruits and vegetables and different items, but we see a lot of consumer-based foods that is convenient consumer-based foods. And, people are so busy that they just want food that they can just make or pop in the oven, pop in the microwave, and then it's ready, and they don't have to mess with it. Now, there is an issue within that, and that is the fact that the next visual I have says 44.3% of the USA is farmed, and that is fact. Over 44% of America is used in some form of agricultural purposes, and our country is facing something that we don't know that. And I don't know how you don't know that, but it's something that is not even cared about, I guess is a good way to put it. So 72% of consumers know nothing or little about farming, and that's from the U.S. Farmers, Ranchers, and Alliance, and it was a survey that was conducted in 2011. And so I find that crazy that if 72% of people know nothing about farming or about their food, but yet over 44% of the land here is used for it, I think there's a huge disconnect. And so where I think that disconnect lies is that we don't care what's going on. Our attitudes are, whatever. We work 50 plus hours a week. We have families. We, have extracurriculars, and we have lives, and so we don't care. We're totally satisfied with just giving our families that food that's prepackaged, and we're fine with giving that to ourselves. And I think that's a big problem. First of all, your overall health and well-being, if you're constantly consuming foods like that are frozen and prepackaged, it's obviously not good for you. And just, that's not what we did, and that's not how we started. And so modern technologies have helped us, and they have also hindered us. And within food is definitely one way that has happened. So I, just a little backstory. I live in Plant City, Florida, which is a predominantly agriculture-based community. So there's about 10 miles, and within our city limits, we produce strawberries, and that is our main commodity here. Over $7 million is brought into Plant City because of strawberries, and that is a huge economic impact. But this is where food literacy comes in. Within our local supermarkets, we have Plant City strawberries, so the ones that are being grown here. We have California-based strawberries, and we have Mexico strawberries coming from Mexico. And people don't care, I guess, or they don't pay attention, and they might purchase those berries from California or Mexico when they are literally being grown in our backyard. So I think that is just a lack of knowledge, and again, a lack of attitude about it. And it's an issue that we are facing. So food literacy just means that you are aware of where your food comes from, you are aware of how it impacts you, your life, your overall well-being, the economy, the people around you, in the world in general. And there are a ton of organizations that are working to help combat the issue. First Lady Michelle Obama has done a great job in providing farm to table in our schools and making sure that our kids have fresh fruits and vegetables every day of the week within their lunch. There are different movements, social media movements. Readers to Eaters is another organization that produces children's books about food and where it comes from and how it's grown. And we just live in a social-based world anyways, that we are totally driven by our media and totally driven by social media. And if 72% of us don't know where our food is coming from, I think that just is a self-evaluation thing, because we constantly have our cell phones and our laptops and our iPads glued at the hip. And if we do not care or don't want to take enough time to figure out that, then that is a huge issue. But I think that is a huge issue that someone is facing individually. So I don't think there's any excuse for food literacy. I think that, obviously you're not going to know every single detail about everything, however you could, but for it to be such a high percentage of us that don't know anything or know little is a big problem. And I think we just need to work harder and actually care about what we are giving to ourselves and what we are feeding to our families. So that's all.